We're live.
I'm going to adjust this. No eyes yet, so we're fine.
Here we go. Yeah, we're on.
Oh, you're flopping all over the place.
This is our very first ever
Beanbag Live.
Beanbag Live.
Oh, you need to sit back so I can sit down.
Okay. Does that work? I think this works. I think we're good.
We got one. There we go. Good
Hey,
evening.
it's probably me on my phone.
Let's have a chat. See who's that?
I realised there was something I could do to turn comments on for Facebook. I should have done that before I got on.
Oh, really?
That should probably, I think your comment would only go to YouTube, but we'll see. Oh, that's a good idea. Hey, guys. Hey, Kirsten. Nice to see you.
Yeah,
well,
thanks
not that
for joining.
Seeing you. Glad to see your name. Can you actually come out of this screen and then, because we've got to see that list of questions on the other screen.
Okay.
Rabia, Bee's in the house.
Wow.
Hey, you. Bee and I have been friends since we were, 4? Well, I have photos of us at 14. Must have been before that, though. Great to see you. All right, welcome. I'm sure that we'll get some more people as we get cracking on. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, so Jordan, can you flick over to the other screen?
This one?
No. Actually, you go like that. Bring that in so we can see the questions. We have so many questions tonight, guys, but the other night the questions were more meaty. There was more, they took a bit longer to answer. These ones tonight are pretty short and simple to answer, so I think we're gonna be okay for time tonight, unlike the other night. We'll see how we go. Hey, Silvana, nice to see you. All right, guys. Yeah, please do say hello in the comments, and we'll get started in a second. How have you found the second video? I know we've had some comments coming through today. We've had some people taking action, which has been so cool to see. Have you been on there today?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I've been busy at the warehouse doing warehouse stuff. Yes,
you have. Well, it's been really fun to see all the different actions people have been making. Some people have been making the Vegemite swap. Some people have done the peanut butter.
Awesome.
Some people, and it's funny, there's so much surprising information about the everyday foods we think are great. Quite a few people said, well, I thought the honey that I bought at the supermarket was just honey. I didn't know there were types of honey. And it's just great to be able to get more awareness around this stuff. And this is the kind of stuff, this is one of the, you can see these yellow bits of paper above us. We're actually, just before we jumped on here live, we were filming for the next video because that's how we roll right now. And it's clear that this type of change, the change that's imperceptible, the change that they're not going to notice, but yet, as you can learn from those videos yesterday and today, that they really can make a tangible difference in our lives. They really can make a powerful difference in our health, because not only are we stripping away the damaging stuff, but quite often we're adding in a really beneficial food. And so, yeah, it's great fun to be able to, as a parent, it's just so fun to be able to see that we're doing this for our kids and ourselves. So we can't forget ourselves in this process too. So kudos to you guys. Can't wait to see some more photos coming through.
Well done. Hi, Amanda. Glad that Facebook user, sorry, I'm not too sure your name. Glad you love video too. We're in a weird position here. We're sitting on bean bags on the ground, and it's highly uncomfortable. It's working, hey? But we're both a little tired, and we thought let's flop onto some bean bags to get into this Q&A. So as Lainey mentioned, we've got quite a few short answer questions that a lot of you guys have reached out about, and we're gonna hopefully get through them all really quick and not spend too much of your evening. So you guys can get to bed and we can get back to filming.
Yeah, we've got a bit of filming and editing tonight to do. Okay,
there'll be no editing.
No editing?
No.
Okay.
There'll be filming in bed.
Okay, so...
Shall we get started?
Yes, let's get started. Do you want to...
Start.
Yes, you read the questions.
I will read the questions. So the first question's around jam. Last question about the jam. How long can it stay in the fridge before it goes off?
You want to answer that one?
How long is it No, I don't know that. Depends how
Honestly,
much sugar you use, I guess.
well, honestly, I think the answer to that will depend on how much lemon juice you use, whether you're using a
maple,
sweetener,
yeah.
how much maple you're using. But quite honestly, it never lasts that long to find out in our place. It is so delicious, particularly when it's still warm, and it's just so good. So, look, I would say at least a week, maybe a week and a half, maybe stretching to 2 weeks. But you'll see it's not great. It'll get some white coloration on it when it's no good anymore.
And just taste it.
And you can freeze it too.
Yeah,
if you want to make a big batch of it, freeze it in smaller portions and just take it out as you go. That's completely fine too.
Doable. All right. Alicia has asked, how much lemon juice did you put in the jam?
So when we first released the jam video, we did omit the little section where I told you how much lemon juice to put in. That's since been fixed. But for those who watched it early, whatever.
It was about half. For the one bag was about half.
Yeah.
The juice of a lemon.
It was half the juice of a lemon, which is 1 to 2 tablespoons. But honestly, it's such a forgiving recipe.
Okay. Haley has asked, what are your thoughts on the Saint Dalfour jam from the supermarket? I buy it as it has no sugar.
Yes, Haley. Do you know that's the jam that I used to buy too? So I totally understand your thought process in reaching for that jam, and that's, great that you are trying to find those better options. The thing about that jam is you can see in the photo that you posted in the group, it's still only about half berries, which leaves the question, what's the other half? And when you look at the other ingredients, really what the other half is, apart from a couple of, small additives, it's really just concentrated fruit juice. So concentrated fruit juice does carry with it some vitamins, some antioxidants, and, they say that those things do survive the processing of, turning juice into a concentrate and back again. And so in theory, it's better than sugar. However, that fruit juice concentrate will still act the same as sugar inside the body in terms of spiking that blood sugar and triggering that release of insulin to our body. So it's a seemingly better option, but marginally better would be my answer.
You need the fiber in the fruit to balance out the sugar.
Yeah, that's right. The fiber makes all the difference. And that's a tangent. I won't go down that tangent.
Fiber. All right. Thank you for that question, Haley. Bernadette has asked, would you personally preference organic but imported, usually of South American or European origin, berries over Australian grown but not organic? I have this dilemma every single time I'm at the supermarket freezer.
I understand your feels, Bernadette. And she also went on to say that she doesn't know if she can trust the overseas organic certification, etc. So, Bernadette, it really, honestly, I think it depends on your personal value system. I know that Jordan's dad, Louis, is a stickler for Aussie-owned, supporting local, which I really, really deeply admire. And there is so much to be said for that. So it depends if you really value supporting local more than avoiding pesticides. And that's only a question you can answer. And honestly, I think either way is a great way to go. Personally, for my family, I value avoiding the pesticides more in this instance. However, ideally, we'd be ticking both boxes, which we actually can. Like, there are Australian frozen berries that you can order online, but they are quite expensive. And so at this point in time, our budget doesn't stretch that far. So you kind of got to pick your battles. And I went for the imported organic berries. I did do a bit of a write-up on Australian berry options some time ago for the smoothie challenge that we did. I might try to dig that up and I'll post it in the group for you and whoever else wants to know, Bernadette. And it'll just give you some options for Aussie berries.
Awesome. Someone from Facebook has said they love the Choose Your Own Adventure videos. Watch all of them.
Yay!
Nice work. Can't get over the impact of sugar 5 hours post-eating. It impacts your immune system crazy. Indeed it is. It's quite an interesting thing, sugar, that we are not really told everything about and how much it's used in our food system.
I know that I'm quite sensitive to it. My immune system, some of you will know, I won't tell the whole story and bore you all, but my immune system is not as strong as it could be right now because I'm healing from adrenal fatigue due to quite a stressful lifestyle for too many years. It's a very valuable lesson that I've learned that I now love to teach other people about the dangers of stress. You can't out eat yourself from a stressful lifestyle. And so now I am quite sensitive to sugar. And when I eat too much of it, it will absolutely make me sick. Literally.
Okay, moving on. Honey. Christina has asked, not keen on Vegemite, but watched all the others. Love it. And all the research you did, Lainey. Regarding honey, is there a difference when it says raw or pure?
Okay, yes, there is. So pure honey, one thing I didn't mention in the video, which I probably should have now that I see this question, some honeys, and I know that there was the most famous Australian honey brand that you can imagine was in deep water for doing this very thing. They have since now stopped it, I believe, but they were mixing their Australian honey with sugar syrup, basically, and other cheaper, poorer quality honeys from China and all these other places. And so it was not pure honey. However, so when you see a pure honey, you know that that is just 100% honey, but it's not necessarily raw. It's pasteurized with heat that kills the beneficial components of the honey. Whereas raw honey is obviously not heated.
Yeah.
And so it carries with it all the benefits.
Yeah. Raw and unfiltered is the best, and organic if you can get that, which is point of conjecture around honey. Some people argue that because bees can go anywhere, you can't technically have 100% organic honey, but you have to really know your hive, your APS to how do you say that? The bee person?
I'm not sure what you.
What do you call a bee person?
I do not want to attempt. I don't want to attempt that word.
Yeah. Anyway.
But I've lost count of the amount of beekeepers that Jordan and I between us have spoken to when trying to source honey for various reasons.
Yeah. But anyway, so let's move on. Anthea has asked, how do maple syrup and rice syrup compare with honey? We are vegan, so don't have honey at all, but do use alternatives. Also, date syrup is nice.
I wish I'd provided some options. Looking back at all these things I should have added to the videos. Okay, so vegan options for honey. Great question. Maple syrup is a fantastic option. Maple syrup is like a good quality maple syrup, not the maple
flavored syrup.
Yeah, maple flavored syrup that you can buy at the supermarket. Really good quality, 100% maple syrup straight from the tree. Is wonderful. It carries with it a host of nutrients, minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, so many different things. So that's a wonderful option. Rice malt syrup, on the other hand, is that what she asked?
Yeah.
Yeah, rice syrup. Rice syrup is highly processed. The benefit of brown rice syrup is that it doesn't have the huge amounts of fructose, and so therefore doesn't spike the blood sugar
as much.
And so that's a benefit. And so, to be honest, I have used brown rice syrup, even though it's highly processed. I just kind of like to have a little bit of everything. I'll have honey, I'll have maple syrup. Sometimes I'll have the brown rice syrup, and also date paste. If you've ever done our smoothie challenge, you'll know that we love date paste. Date paste is the bee's knees. When it comes to sweeteners, honestly, you've got the sweetener as well as the fiber, so your body knows how to process it. You're not going to have such a huge spike in insulin going through your body, and so it's a great option, and it's jam-packed full of amazingness. So date paste is number one, maple syrup next. I don't know, honey is probably above maple syrup, and then brown rice syrup at the bottom. I hope that's clear enough.
Yeah, right on. Moving on, keeping it swift. Peanut butter. Alicia has asked, is cashew butter also an okay substitute for peanut butter? We use both, but I wondered if there was a reason it wasn't mentioned on the video.
Absolutely it is. I should have mentioned it on the video. It's so good, and it's quite similar to peanut butter in texture. It's great, yes.
Absolutely, well done. Vegemite. Amanda has asked, I could only find a red miso paste in the Asian aisle at the shops, not refrigerated. So could I please get contact from you so I can buy a good quality one?
Amanda, I meant to Google that brand for you before going live, and I think I've somehow missed your question. So I apologize. I'll reply to you personally about that brand of miso paste. Just check it out to see if it's a good one. But in terms of sourcing a good one, I'm not sure where you live, but in most metro areas, any good health food store and many good fruit and veg stores will have a great miso paste available. If not, you can buy it online at Goodness Me. You can buy it online at quite a few places. Great brands like Kawaii, Rice Culture, and I believe you can order direct from them, perhaps. You might need to be a business, actually. No, you can't. You have to go through a distributor like Goodness Me or someone like that. But if you just Google red miso paste organic, make sure it's organic, you'll come up with whatever options are available to you.
Cool.
Sorry, Charles, to interrupt. If you find a miso paste on the shelf, what I meant in the video by questioning its quality is this. When a fermented food is not refrigerated, it continues to ferment, which means those microbes will keep eating things, whatever's available to them. And particularly if your miso paste on the shelf is packaged in plastic, that's what those microbes will eat. And you're going to eat the miso paste. And so you can see that we start to get into that territory of potentially consuming microplastics pretty much. And so that's why Kirsty Worth, the fermenting queen over at Cultured Wellness, always recommends not keeping any fermented food in plastic for that very reason.
Right on. Just going to say that Susie helped us with our pronunciation.
Oh, good.
Apiarist.
All right. Apiarist. Apiarist.
Thanks,
Still
Susie.
not doing it right, am I?
Probably.
Hey, Maggie. Welcome.
Thanks for joining us. All right, moving on to bread. Brittany has said, or asked, sorry, what brand of bread is the organic one, please? We aren't a big bread eating household, but would love to make the switch for the times that we do eat bread. Does it freeze well?
Alrighty, okay. Now, basically, all the other questions are going to be bread. There's lots of bread questions, you guys, so buckle up for bread.
If there's any questions of the topics or of the areas we've already covered that you haven't asked yet and you'd like to, just type them in the comments and we'll answer.
Absolutely.
So the bread, organic bread.
Alrighty. Now, I'm not a huge, we're not set on any particular brand of bread. Typically, wherever I'm shopping, I'll just look for whatever is organic and whole grain, preferably. And that's what I'll buy. You typically don't have to be too worried about brand when it comes to buying organic bread because they're going to be pretty clean. When they're certified organic, they have to abide by certain rules. They won't be putting the crap in that you get in lots of other breads. However, that being said, I do like the Healthy Bake brand. And the good news is that it's Melbourne-based, but you can actually buy it online in bulk and have it shipped to you. Like if you have a chest freezer outside or some space in your freezer, and even if you have an ABN or you know someone who does and you can, go together and order it, that's how I used to get the bread. I used to just buy it wholesale and they knew that it was just for our family. They were completely fine with it and they would ship it to us. We'd put it in the thing, in our freezer. And yes, it does freeze well. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Okay, Bronwyn has asked about bread. Where does one obtain an organic, inexpensive loaf? I couldn't find one for Woolies online, and Coles had only one option, which was $8. For a family who goes through 3 loaves a week, that's getting quite pricey. Currently, we buy the Abbott's Light Rye, which is less than half the price of this.
Yes, Bronwyn, this is a good question. I sometimes get a bit frustrated because our local supermarket stocks an organic bread, and I'm trying to think of the brand name. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's not Healthy Bake, it's a different one. But quite often they will stock an organic bread that's about $5.50. And I even saw it online 2 days ago on either Coles or Woolies for that price. It was $5.25 maybe. But then I went back today after I saw your question and it was gone, which is half the time that's the case when I go in person as well. It's highly unreliable source. So yes, sometimes you can get it at the supermarket for a price. When you see it, stock up, freeze it. Otherwise, yeah, organic bread can be, $2 to $3 more than what you'd buy buy what you'd spend on, say, a Helga's. I see just a regular bread online today for like $8. That was it was just a gluten-free regular bread for $8 with some seeds thrown in it. So like, I guess it depends what bread you're normally buying, but generally with this lifestyle, you will be. Okay, so here's the thing: when we're eating, I guess, more healthily, sometimes prioritizing organic, during the transition, it might cost more because you haven't cut out, I'm not saying you particularly, but because we haven't cut out the other things that we're going to move away from eventually. We're crowding them out by adding stuff in. So initially, we're going to buy more stuff in without getting rid of stuff, and that can be maybe a bit more expensive for things like bread. But ultimately, it's actually going to work out in your favor because you're going to be crowding out the processed stuff that typically costs more than your typical whole foods, like your beans and your rice and your legumes and all that stuff that we're going to be embracing down the track. And so ultimately, I don't believe that eating organic, eating healthy necessarily costs notably more money, but perhaps in the interim. And when it comes to bread, it is just one of those things that is an unfortunate reality that it can be a little bit more expensive. Yeah. Sorry to say.
Yeah.
Long-winded reply.
Joe has asked, is it best to get sourdough when possible? We get an organic spelt sourdough from Harris Farm that's good for toast. Is that okay, or is spelt like white flour in ways?
Spelt's awesome. So long as it's a whole grain spelt, it's wonderful. Our wheat, modern wheat, is unrecognizable from the wheat that we had 100 years ago. It's been hybridized. Is that the right word? Did I say that right? Been hybridized so many times that it's a completely different plant to what we had some, 2 generations ago. So spelt flour, what you call an ancient grain, and so it's still, what would you say? It's still authentic to what it started as. And spelt grain space, it's great. But white spelt is the same deal as white regular flour. So you just want to reach for that whole grain spelt. And in answer to your, maybe Sarah.
Best, okay.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, Sarah, can we get the lowdown on sourdough bread? I used to make spelt bread for my kids, but my eldest thinks it tastes like ants. Many years later, I made it again, and he walked into the kitchen and asked, "Why can I smell ants?"
So funny.
We usually buy a mixture of 6 loaves for the fortnight of wholemeal, light rye, and usually own one white loaf. Can you guess which one gets eaten in a day? What's the best organic brand for fluffiness?
Right on. Okay, Sarah, hi. That is so funny about your son, like years later, still saying it smells like ants. That is
That's
something
awesome.
that I have never heard before. And obviously there's some association there for him, which is hilarious. Okay, sourdough bread. Sourdough bread is tipped to be lower GI than your regular bread. And so it's not going to spike your blood sugar levels as much, supposedly. The reason I say supposedly is because there has been a study that is now questioning the bio-individual reaction to certain foods. What they did is they tested regular, cheap white bread against an organic sourdough bread, and they found that for the very small number of people they had, which was 20, there was no difference in the blood sugar spikeness. There was no
Levels.
Yeah. So there's now there's enough to say, okay, let's do a proper study now, basically. But yeah, in answer to your question, sourdough is better, yes, but still reach for a whole grain sourdough if you can.
Right on.
Gee, I struggled with that, didn't I?
That was fine. I don't think we can get through all these questions.
How are we going for time?
It's already 9 o'clock.
Half an hour. Okay, I'll be quicker.
Okay. All right, Anya has asked, supermarket sourdough bread like Coles Bakery, how much better is it? How much of a better option is it? I suspect treachery everywhere now. We live in regional, not many options available.
Hello, Anya. Okay, supermarket bread. I looked up your Coles Bakery sourdough. and it's actually not too bad. I was actually surprised. So there was wheat flour, there was just a bunch of wheat product basically, and there was some enzyme and yeast, and that's all to help the sourdough go along. There's some synthetic vitamins which aren't absorbed by the body that great. But honestly, apart from not being organic, and so you got some glyphosate in there from the wheat and stuff, it's not too bad. So I would say that's an okay option for if you're living regional. And this is the thing. Don't beat yourself up for what you don't have access to or what you can't afford at the time. You just do what you can, when you can, where you can. And if you can't do something, then focus on what you can do and celebrate that. Don't worry about stuff you've got no control over. And oh, sorry, can we go back up for a second? Yeah. So the other thing I was going to mention, though, too, Anya, is that you might be able to access the Healthy Bake brand of bread posted to you. I know that I did on Sunshine Coast here, and they posted from Melbourne. So it's possible. You might want to look into it.
Cool. Katie has asked, I wondered whether you had any tips on things to look out for in terms of gluten-free bread. Myself and my daughter have celiac. The one we like is a multi-grain seeded. Just not sure if there are any similar issues or not so much.
Okay. Gluten-free bread it's really a minefield. I've never seen one at the supermarket that has been a great option. I looked today at a common brand, Helga's, and there was a whole bunch of stuff in there. But the main issues really are that gluten-free breads typically are made from white flours that are very high GI, that are going to spike the blood sugars and the insulin. And they're also usually made from quite poor quality ingredients. So when I looked at the Helga's one, it said whole grain, I'm sure, or wholemeal on there somewhere. But when I looked at the ingredient, it was only 18% wholemeal and the rest was white stuff. There was also vegetable oil, which if you watch the peanut butter one, you'll know that that's not great. There was GMO corn. There was 2 products that would have had glyphosate on them, even though there was no wheat, like potato starch and linseed. There was added sugar. There was a GMO soy flour. There was a guar gum, which, guys, guar gum 412 is okay. As long as you don't have any gut issues, don't worry too much when you see guar gum.
Right on. Suzanne has asked, luckily I've never been a fan of both peanut butter and Vegemite. We have almond and cashew butter instead. My family doesn't really eat Vegemite. The bread is the big one in my camp. Hubby is celiac, only eats gluten-free bread. Good or bad?
Depends, Suzanne. If you want to shoot me a brand that you guys eat, then I'd be happy to have a look at it for you. And sorry, who was the person just before Suzanne? Katie. Sorry, I left you with all the bad and not the good, Katie. There are some great gluten-free breads out there. Just Google organic whole grain gluten-free bread and see what comes up. I saw a couple today. There's the Gluten-Free Food Company who Monica, we know personally, she's got a great brand of gluten-free product. It's not all whole grain because gluten-free breads by nature do need a little bit of starchy stuff to hold it together. It doesn't have gluten. So
it's a bread mix. It's not bread.
Apologies, it's a bread mix. Someone did ask for a bread mix and I think I connected that up.
Yeah.
If you don't want to get a bread mix, try a health food store, and usually I found one there. Our daughter Kaya was eating gluten-free for quite some time. She liked the paleo bread. It was made from almond meal. It was quite nice.
Okay, Rachel has asked, the only thing for me to change is bread, as we only have butter, tahini, and clean nut butters for spreads already. Awesome. We usually eat organic sourdough. It is white though, so we'll try making the swap to brown. My eldest is gluten-free. Any suggestions on organic gluten-free brown bread? Have we covered
I think
that?
we pretty much covered it. However, I did find one, I think doorsteporganics.com.au had that Monica's Mixes one there. Oh, sorry, Gluten-Free Food Company one there. But just when you're looking at a good guideline to go by when you're looking for a gluten-free bread, just make sure that the first flour, because there's always a combination of flours for a gluten-free bread, make sure the first one, or even the first 2 maybe, are a whole grain. And so that's going to be indicative of the fact that it's taking up a larger percentage of the recipe than any of the other ingredients. So as much whole grain as you can anyway.
Yeah,
we can't be perfect about these things, but just these principles will help guide your decisions, but just do your best.
Yeah. We've had a question about the Goodness Me discount code.
Oh, yeah.
Have you put that up somewhere?
I did. I put it in the Facebook group today, but it's NoFast15. And actually, they have a good deal going today. They always throw in some free stuff, and today, or maybe tomorrow as well, they're throwing in a free Mingles sweet chili sauce worth $6. So you'll get your 15% off for your miso paste and your natural peanut butter, and you get your free sweet chili sauce.
Cool. All right. And it was Julie who asked, know any good for you gluten-free bread?
Oh, okay.
Live on the road. Packet mix would be awesome.
Right. Yep. I think we've answered that one.
Yeah. So the Gluten-Free Food Co. do a great bread mix. We used to sell it at the Whole Food Collective back in the day. All right. Anthony has asked, husband and daughter are gluten-free, so we buy the whole green bread brand. And for flour in recipes, I use various rice flour, potato flour, tapioca, besan. Are these okay? I try to buy rice sourdough for myself.
I googled the whole grain bread, Anthea, and I found their website, but I couldn't find any listing of their gluten-free, so I couldn't check their ingredients. However, their website did look like they were quite aware and using quality ingredients, so I think chances are they're probably a pretty good bet, but I just can't say. When you're looking at rice flour, choose brown rice flour because that's going to be the equivalent of your whole grain. Besan flour is also fantastic, made from chickpeas, low GI. That's awesome. The last question that you asked was rye. Rye is great. Rye is a step better than wheat because it's harder to process and so it retains more nutrients. However, it is subjected to glyphosate too, so it's in the same camp as ideally buying organic.
Okay. Question is rye bread or sourdough better than wholemeal? We've covered that one. Jolene has asked, we give the kids...
Oh, is this the last question? Woo! We made it.
No, here we go.
No, this is just something.
Okay, good. I was getting really nervous about that. All right, last question. We give the kids sandwiches for lunch every day, so I can't take peanut spreads to school. Otherwise, would love that option, but we use light rye bread. Any good substitutions? She only likes ham on her sandwich for school, which I know is also not the best option. Any other ideas for school spreads that won't make the bread mushy lol, like the jams and honey, or a good substitute for daily ham? We don't eat Vegemite at all. My little ones find the natural peanut butter to be quite dry sometimes, so stick to the palate, but hoping with the half-half swap they can get used to it. I know you mentioned giving a good breakfast and after-school snack. Just wondering how to make her sandwich more nutritious, or even a complete substitute to the sandwich, like a muffin crumpet.
All right, Jolene. Okay, quite a few questions in there. Let's give it our best shot. Okay, so first question is rye bread. So you're using a light rye bread and you want a substitution. Like we just touched on, rye bread's actually really great, and you can buy an organic rye bread, so there's no reason that you need to get rid of that. So that's a thumbs up. She likes ham on her sandwich for school, which you know is not the best option. Okay, so even though I personally don't like ham, our kids love ham. And you can, the reason that processed meats like ham and bacon and many other processed meats are given a bad rap, it depends if you're living in the vegan camp, it's a completely different story. But from a health perspective, in terms of the nitrates that are added to, so nitrites, I should say, that are added to help that process of staying pink and staying preserved, that's actually what the cause is of them now saying that processed meat is more
carcinogenic.
More carcinogenic than smoking cigarettes. That's the new finding. So what you want to do is find a quality butcher that sells nitrate-free ham. And depending on where you live, that's actually not too hard to do. We live here on the Sunshine Coast, and there's quite a few butchers around who do that. So that's a great option for your ham. Next question was, spreads that won't make the bread mushy. I think when it comes to, say, jam or honey, I don't know, our kids have never really said that it makes their bread mushy.
No, we haven't faced that dilemma.
No, we haven't, sorry. But when it comes to if you want to put a salad on the bread, I do get quite strategic with what goes on the layers. So you put your lettuce on first, and then you put your tomato. Sometimes I can't say that I want to do this all the time, but my sister-in-law actually gets paper towel out and dabs the slices of tomato so that the moisture comes out from each slice. Can't say that I do that all the time, but
or ever.
I have done it once or twice, but that was quickly learned that was not for me. So, cheese on the bottom, perhaps. If you do cheese, you could do cheese on the bottom, wet stuff in the middle, lettuce on the top, something like that. But probably not that helpful when it comes to mushy sandwiches.
Yeah. The last one was about substitutions. Mention giving a good breakfast and after school snack, how to make your sandwich more nutritious, or even a complete substitute.
Yes. I saw that someone, maybe Julie, someone jumped in and gave you a great suggestion of a whole grain muffin to take to school instead of a sandwich. That's a really good option. Our kids went through a really long phase of loving burrito bowls in their lunch. And so if we had Mexican one night, we'd just make sure we had enough for leftovers and we'd just put brown rice. Like, I can teach you guys this perhaps is there room in the next video? I'm not sure. But we do like quite a big plant-based mince base that looks and tastes like meat mince. So they have that on top. They got the diced tomatoes, a little bit of avocado. Like, they just loved it in their school lunch. So that's a great option. Or even nachos. Just have like corn chips on the side and then dip into all your Mexican stuff. Mexican is a great one for school lunches.
It is.
There are lots of other options for school lunches, and I feel like that's like this whole other ball game. This big, we could do a whole boot camp just on school lunches, and in fact, it's kind of earmarked as something we might do one day. But yeah, I feel like that could just really, really take a lot of time. And I'm just trying to think. I do have. Okay, this is a nice, easy option that I can give you. Some years ago, we made a downloadable for a school lunchbox, which has a whole heap of ideas in there. Our kids also love mini quiches in their lunch, which have loaded with lots of vegetables that everyone loves. Like, I made them for someone's wedding a couple of years ago, and so many of the guests were asking for the recipe. It's so good. So I'll give you the downloadable for the school lunchbox formula. I think that will help. I'll do that.
Right on. Okay, so if there's no other questions, we are through the questions that have been submitted so far. It is probably good to end it unless there's some other questions of those who are still on board with us. If there's anything else they want to ask, otherwise,
ask away.
We are grateful you guys tuned in. Hopefully the questions you submitted were all answered. Have a little bit more ammunition for your swap outs and understanding a little bit more deeply on these foods and how swapping them out for better options is really impactful and really easy to do.
Yeah. It's been so fun so far, guys. I hope that you're having as much fun as we are. We are quite tired. It's been quite taxing on us, but it's a good thing that we love what we do because it's been big. It's been a lot just trying to balance everything. So we actually started homeschooling this week.
Yeah. Okay, quick question. Is rye bread a better option from white bread? I think that says.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes, it is.
Far better.
Absolutely. It's chalk and cheese. Yeah.
Good choice on the rye.
Yep. And we've actually spoken a little bit about rye. You might have just joined, but if you just joined, maybe just watch part of this Q&A again because we did dive into rye. It's a good one.
Yeah.
It is subject to glyphosate. So if you're able to prioritize your organic dollar that way, then go ahead and do that.
Highly recommended.
All right, guys. Yeah, let's.
Oh, no, you.
I was just going to say, this is like record timing for us. Like 40 minutes is good, right? We're trying to keep it down to 20, but, it's better than 1 hour that we did the other night.
What we wanted. Yes. Well, we thank you guys for joining us. We hope you are continually enjoying the No Fuss Nourish Bootcamp, and we will be with you on another video shortly, and then another question and answer next week. No, this week?
Yeah, the Q&A is always the night after we
so Thursday.
put the video out.
I'll be at training Thursday for the semi-finals. So.
The semi-finals coming out when he plays rugby.
So I'll be away. But it was great to be here to catch you guys tonight. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and we shall see you again soon.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.